Well, we're turning our attention now to the NFIU guidelines, which has now caused some controversy. I recall that over the weekend, the NFIU-Governors Forum wrote a letter to the president, asking the president to call the NFIU to order, saying that the NFIU had no grounds to issue the guidelines on which it had issued, saying that they were unconstitutional and as such could not stand. Well, we have with us this morning a senior advocate of Nigeria. He is Chibuike Nwokeuku. You're welcome to Sunrise Daily.
Thank you very much.
Well, I'm sure that you have seen the guidelines issued by the NFIU,
yeah.
And you've also heard the governor's response to those guidelines. What were your thoughts when you heard them?
Well, depending on which area you look at it, if you go with the governors, what NFIU has done by way of the guideline can be seen as being unconstitutional. Then in another breath, if you're talking about saving this nation and saving money for the nation, then NFIU is also right in what they have done. What I think the problem is that we need a meeting point between the two. For example...
Well, why do you say it is unconstitutional? Why do you agree with the governors that it is unconstitutional?
Well, if you look at Section 162, 6 and 8 of the 1999 Constitution as amended, you will see that what the Constitution provides is the joint account between the state and the local government, which is supposed to be a collection point of the funds for the local government. And if you go down those two sections, you find out they said it is now for the state to distribute the funds to the local government area that constitute the state. So to that extent, no other person has power to touch funds in that account except the state for the benefit of the local government areas. In that case, what NFIU has done, now saying that monies cannot be withdrawn from that account by the state government except for the purpose of the local government areas. You now see there appears to be a conflict there. And to that extent, as the law is that whatever other legislation or directive that is inconsistent with the express provisions of the Constitution, to that extent, null and void and of no effect. So I will say that if you look at it from that angle, the governors will be right that the movement by NFIU is unconstitutional. But if you look at the response of the NFIU itself, they are saying that we do not say that the governors are not in control. But what we are saying is that money in that account should just be left for the local government and local government alone.
So what is unconstitutional then?
That is the governor's argument that's unconstitutional, that nobody should even touch it about, that nobody, no institution, no establishment like NFIU can say anything about money of the local government in that joint account. That's what the governors are saying, that it is their right. They are supervising the local government areas within the domain. So if the money comes in that collection account, it is for the governors to now distribute the money together with the one they will contribute into the account for the benefit of the local government areas that make up their states. But the guideline of NFIU is saying that it is only the local government that can access that account, and to ensure that local government areas are not alone on it, they will spend it anyhow. They said, no, you cannot withdraw more than 500,000 naira in a day. Any cash, there's any other withdrawal will either be by bank transfer or through a check. That's what they said. So it's a way of tying the hands of the local government as against what the position had always been before now, where the state governor can invite either the local government chairman or all the local government chairmen together and now said, let's see how much came in. This is how much you're going to take for the payment of your salaries and other bills. Then the rest of the money, the governors will determine how that will be used. But the intervention of NFIU is to now ensure that governors do not have that kind of control over the local government areas at all. So the governors are saying, it's our constitutional right. This other arm of government is under our supervision. We take care of them with the federal allocation and the one we will contributing to that joint account. We will also tell them how the money will be spent. But this unit now said, no, it is the local government themselves that will control their funds.
It's interesting because I'm looking at section 7 now of the Constitution,
yes,
which says that, let me see if I can quickly get it now. It says something about democratically elected local government chairman, which is always, followed in the breach, rather than, being obeyed, so to speak. So can the governors really, raise objections when something is not constitutional, according to them, when they themselves do not follow the Constitution with regards to the local governments?
You see, we are human beings, including the governors. You would like to obey what will favor you more or what will favor you most. The governors are complaining and also saying that what NFIU is trying to do is unconstitutional. That does not mean they themselves are not violating certain other provisions of the Constitution, like what you said.
Let me quickly read it out. It says the system of local government by democratically elected local government councils is under this Constitution guaranteed.
Yes.
And accordingly, the government of every state shall, subject to Section 8 of this Constitution, ensure their existence under a law which provides for the establishment, structure, composition, finance, and functions of such councils.
That is it.
Oftentimes, that doesn't happen.
It's not just oftentimes, all the time. For example, in most of the states in the Federation are presently being governed by appointed caretaker committees instead of democratically elected chairmen and councillors, as Section 7 is talking about. So to that extent, the governors are also in breach of the Constitution. The Constitution has guaranteed independence or autonomy of the finance of the local government areas. If you also look at that Section 1626, it's also talking about that joint account. That joint account is largely controlled by the state governors. So, but my own opinion of this issue is that we appear to be putting the cart before the horse. This is a constitutional issue. If NFIU wants to do what they are now doing, which they said will take effect from first day of June, I think, in my opinion, that would have been necessary to cause an amendment to the provision of the Constitution with regard to the finances of the local government. The issue of joint account is not necessary if you're talking about financial autonomy of the local government areas. All they will have done is to present a bill before the National Assembly and cause that section or subsection of the Constitution to be expunged and or amended to the extent that you will now have a constitutional provision that talks about direct allocation of the funds of the local government to the local government itself. There is no need to have that subsection that now provides for a joint account.
You know that there's also huge controversy as to who has the power to create local government.
Yes.
Our Constitution recognizes 774 local government. There's been a huge controversy as to whether or not states should be able to create local governments by themselves and determine how many local governments they want their states to have.
Yes.
What are your thoughts in that regard?
My thought is that the power was given to the state government, to the governors, in one hand, with the state government, inclusive of the state assembly, in one hand, and taken away from them with the other hand. The names of all the 774 local government areas in the Federation are enshrined in the 1999 Constitution as amended. If you look at the Constitution itself, there appears to be a provision that allows for creation of more local government areas in the state. But if you want the newly created local government in your state to be accorded national recognition, that will mean amendment of the Constitution to include the name of this, your new local government, as one of the local government areas that make up the state. Has the state governor or the state government, inclusive of the state house of assembly, power on their own to amend the Constitution to include the name of this new local government? If the name of this new local government is not enshrined in the Constitution, have you created a local government known to law? So in one breath, there might appear to be power to create, which some of them have attempted doing. But if you wanted to have constitutional recognition, it will involve amendment of the Constitution. And you know, amendment of the Constitution is another ball game. Cannot be handled by the state governor, cannot be handled by State House Assembly. It's a serious issue. So my conclusion on it is that they do not have powers to create constitutionally recognizable local government areas.
Isn't it going to create problems? So, for instance, let's take a look at a state like Lagos that has created local council development areas,
centers,
where you now say that you have, if you expunge this joint account system and allocate the money directly to local government, how do you think it's going to work for the administration of those local council development areas, for instance?
Well, if you bought my earlier argument,
yes,
such local governments created by the state that do not have recognition in the Constitution would not be entitled to any part of that money. So the ones the federal government will allocate money directly are those that are recognized in the Constitution. So the local government development centers or development areas are not in any place recognized in the 1999 Constitution as amended. Therefore, if you're talking about the Accountant General or any issuing body at the national level allocating funds to the local government areas, they will be guided by the Constitution. So if any chairman of any of those development centers or development areas will be asking, where is my own allocation? The question was, what is the name of your local government? Show me the name of your local government.
They're all under local government. I mean, they have not been created from outside from local government. They're all within the local government.
Then they go to the chairman of the recognized local government to ask for their share.
That's how it should work.
That is it, but it's not working, yes.
But some people will say that the NFIU hasn't sought to regulate, because one of the arguments of the state governors is that they're not reporting entities to NFIU, and that NFIU cannot, cannot be giving them regulations, so to speak. Some people will argue that NFIU was a little smart in this regard by, holding the banks responsible.
That is it. That's what they are saying.
Yes.
We are not regulating the governors.
Yes.
They're not under us. We're not talking to them. We're saying the banks or other financial institutions will have powers to regulate them. So what they are saying is, look, Mr. Bank Manager, this money is for XYZ local government area. Make sure that this money goes straight to the account of XYZ local government without any interference on the way. If you do, we're going to sanction you. And the sanction will include 100% of the amount you gave to another person, not the local government that owns it. The federal government is surcharge you to that extent. And why they say they are doing that is that there have been threats from the international community, from international financial institutions, saying that the battle against
money laundering, yes,
and terrorism, that it is not effectively channeled for that purpose. They now want to look directly into it to see how we're doing. If we fail to do it in the way the international community has approved, that they will sanction the entire country, that they will isolate us from international financial organizations. That will spell doom to the entire nation. Therefore, they now came in, this is the argument, they now came in to say, we're not interested in the argument the governors and governor forum, what they are saying. What we're saying, this financial body, let us be sure that what the law says you should do is what you're doing. Make sure that this money moves from your account straight into the account of the local government area. If anything happens to it on the way, we'll hold you responsible. And for the governors, that should you use that money for any other purpose other than the provision of the Constitution, that we are going to report you to the appropriate disciplinary body.
Which body would that be?
Well, they can report the conduct of the governor to EFCC.
Okay.
Yes.
So in that regard, they definitely cannot be out of line, can they?
That was why I said we can run away from all these controversies by ensuring that the Constitution is amended to take care of the situation. That was why when I started, I said, if you look at the argument of two sides, depending on where you are, each is correct. The governors are right to say it's unconstitutional to limit us, to tie our hands. On the other hand, these other people are saying that we're not tying your hands. We're only ensuring that what the law provides is what is done.
We're tying the hands of the banks.
They're tying the hands of the banks.
Which we can regulate.
Which we can regulate.
Yes.
We're interested in the banks, not you. Go ahead and do what you're doing. But Mr. Banker, make sure that the money allocated to this local government, we're watching you, go straight into the account of the local government. You cannot come back to tell us, my governor or governor of the state where I operate said I should give it to him. That is diversion of funds. Okay.
It's going to be interesting to see how it eventually pans out. But do you ever see this matter going to the court?
Yes, I envisage that. Before the Constitution is amended, I have a feeling that the governors, the way they're feeling, the way they are reacting, the way the newspapers are carrying them, that they may want to go to court to get a judicial pronouncement on the constitutionality of that guideline. I envisage that may happen any moment from now.
How long do you think it would take to resolve, considering the fact that this is supposed to start June 1?
Well, an order of injunction obtained before June 1 or any time thereafter may stall the activities of the NFIU.
I'm looking at some questions here. Now, some people are arguing that the local government chairman only signs the mandate. The people who sign checks are still in the state service. I mean, in the state civil service.
I didn't get that, sir.
They say that the local government chairman only sign mandates.
Yes.
And that the people who sign the checks are within the state civil service. They're saying that isn't the aim of autonomy or financial independence, which the NFIU gives, appears to have been defeated.
Well, the guideline of NFIU may not be defeated completely. The officers in the local government are the ones who sign checks, but the sealing of the check, which gives authority to the bank to issue funds as contained in the check, the seal is with the local government chairman. It doesn't matter what the civil servant in charge of the finance department of what he has written, but the final authority lies with the chairman of the local government with the seal. The governor hasn't got the seal of the local government. So before any fund leaves the account of the local government to any place, the chairman must sign. That is the argument why people are saying that the governors are running away from using democratically elected local government. They prefer to use caretaker committee chairman.
Is that legal?
Well, it is it's allowed to the extent that nobody has gone to court to say, don't do that. To my knowledge, there had not been any judicial authority or need to say it is illegal, it is unconstitutional for the governors of the state to jettison democratically elected government provided for in Section 7 of the Constitution to now prefer caretaker committee chairman. The argument is that they prefer caretaker committee chairman, those they appointed and those they can direct. If, for example, I'm elected a local government chairman, I'll stand my ground because the governor hasn't got power to remove me as a democratically elected chairman.
Why don't we see more of that? What we have been saying many times, and one would have thought that by now we should be hearing the voice of Algon. I mean, they're the ones directly affected.
Obviously, they're the ones directly affected.
But so far, so good. We haven't heard anything from them. And we're yet to see any local government chairman who went to court to successfully challenge. I mean, I'm yet to hear of one who went to court.
You are very right. We're yet to hear of one. But I tell you, the story behind it is simple. The type of political system we run in this country, the party system we run in this country, they make the governors the leader of the party in the state. And everybody falls behind the governor. The electoral body that conducts election at the state government level, at the state level, is the leadership is appointed by the state governor. If you watch local government elections conducted nationwide, the party in power at the state level, most often, 90% of the time, wins the local government elections. The reason is simple, that everybody follow the orders and instructions of the governor. So if you want to become a local government chairman, elected or appointed, but we're talking about elected ones now, you must follow the line of your governor. What he says you will do, that's what you're going to do. If you fail to do that, the chances of you getting the ticket of the party to run the election will not be there.
An election that oftentimes we snare at because, you know, we rarely ever see anybody in the opposition.
That is what I'm saying.
Elected.
Nobody is in the opposition. Nobody is in the opposition. The electoral body that conducts election, I don't know how they do it. The governors will submit list of preferred candidates. And at the end of the day, they are the ones that win. So if you want to go a second term, you must have been seen to have done well. And doing well, you must have been seen to have obeyed your governor. If you fail to do that, be satisfied with one term. And if you leave with one term, the next person coming after you will learn from your own mistake and say, no, I don't want to be a one-time chairman.
Do you think that this is a step, I mean, the controversy first and foremost generated, or let me start with the guidelines generated and the controversy it has generated towards correcting the anomalies we have noticed with state and local government relationship?
I didn't get that.
Is it a step towards correcting the relationship or at least getting the local governments to function as they ought to?
Yes, to an extent, it has made people become aware of the situation. And the way it's generating controversy, a lot of persons are making contributions. With these contributions being made here and there, we are coming close to all of us now appreciating that there is need to correct this anomaly. And like I suggested when I started, the first step is take a bold step towards amending the Constitution. I don't want to go into the area, the controversy of the enactment of that Constitution into law, what role the military played. And this is how many years since the military left. It's unbelievable that up till now, we have been complaining about the Constitution not being the Constitution of the people. Having found out that it's not the Constitution of the people, what have we been able to do as a people to amend the Constitution? They will start midway. They will lose steam. But you know, right from the time of bless his soul, the President Musa Yar'Adua, when there was this controversy of did he hand over or whether Jonathan had power to take over when the man was aware.
Doctrine of necessity.
That is it. When it became necessary that that necessity thing should become necessary, everybody agreed to the amendment of that section of the Constitution very easily to save the nation from collapse.
So we should be all agreeing.
I agree that way. In the way we did that.
It's definitely work for the Ninth Assembly, and it's a fine place to leave it. We have to thank you most kindly for your contributions.
Thank you very much.
Chirike Wonke-Ukwu, I
yes.
hope I pronounced that right,
Yeah.
is a senior advocate of Nigeria and has been wading in on this controversy between the Nigeria Governors Forum and the NFIU guidelines. Well, Sunrise Today continues in a moment. Please stay with us.